Welcome to the Family in Poland channel. We create practical guides for families who live or plan to live in Poland.
If you are planning to work in Poland, there are two important things you should check before you start: whether you have the right to stay in Poland and whether you have the right to work. If you are coming from India, the Philippines, Nepal, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nigeria or another country outside the European Union, the Polish system may be unfamiliar at first. The rules can depend on your nationality, your residence status, the type of work you will do and the documents you have. In this guide, we will explain in simple English what you should check before starting a job, which documents may be required and what rights you have as a foreign worker in Poland. Legal employment means that several conditions are fulfilled at the same time. You must be legally staying in Poland. You must have the right to work. You must have the required work permit or another legal basis allowing you to work, unless you are exempt from the work permit requirement. Your employment conditions must comply with Polish law. And you must have an appropriate contract with your employer. One important point is this: having the right to stay in Poland does not always automatically give you the right to work. You need to check both your residence status and your right to work. Before you start working, check your documents carefully. Depending on your situation, your legal stay may be based on a visa, a residence permit, a permanent residence permit or a karta pobytu, which is a Polish residence card confirming your residence status. Having a karta pobytu does not automatically mean that you can work in every situation. You must also check whether the particular basis of your residence gives you the right to work. You should then check whether you need an additional employment document. Depending on your situation, this may be a work permit, an oświadczenie o potwierdzeniu wykonywania pracy cudzoziemcowej, which is an employer's declaration used under a simplified employment procedure, an employer notification or another document required by Polish law. In some situations, you may be allowed to work without a separate work permit. If you are a citizen of a country outside the European Union, the European Economic Area or Switzerland, and you do not have a special right of free access to the Polish labor market, your employer may be required to obtain a work permit. A Polish work permit is connected with specific employment conditions. Depending on the type of permit, it may contain information about the employer, the position or type of work, the salary, working time and the period for which the permit is valid. This is why you should check whether the job you actually perform matches the conditions stated in your documents. If you want to change employers, do not automatically assume that your previous work permit is valid for the new employer. Check your situation before you start the new job. Poland has a simplified employment procedure for citizens of certain countries. The document is called oświadczenie o potwierdzeniu wykonywania pracy cudzoziemcowej. In simple English, this means an employer's declaration concerning the employment of a foreign worker under the simplified procedure. The procedure can apply to citizens of certain countries, including Armenia, Belarus, Moldova and Ukraine, provided that the legal conditions are fulfilled. The declaration is submitted by the employer, not by the worker. It is registered with the competent powiatowy urzęd pracy, which is the local or district labor office responsible for employment matters. The worker must perform the job under the conditions stated in the registered declaration. Remember that an oświadczenie does not automatically legalize your stay in Poland. You must also have a legal basis for staying in Poland that allows you to work. Special rules apply to some groups of foreign workers. For example, Ukrainian citizens who meet specific conditions may have access to the Polish labor market under special rules. However, these rules do not automatically apply to workers from India, the Philippines, Nepal, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nigeria or other countries. If you are not covered by a special rule, the general rules for foreign workers may apply to you. Your nationality, residence status, and employment documents are therefore important. Do not assume that the procedure used by another foreign worker will automatically apply to you. A foreign worker can work in Poland under different types of contracts. One common type is umowa o pracę. Umowa o pracę is a Polish employment contract governed by Polish labor law. Another common type is umowa zlecenia. Umowa zlecenia is a civil law contract. It is not the same as an employment contract and can involve different rights and obligations. Other types of contracts may also be possible where permitted by law. Your contract should be concluded in writing before you start working. If you do not understand Polish, you should receive the content of the contract in a language you understand. Do not start working only because an employer has made a verbal promise. Before signing your contract, check the working conditions carefully. From the 1st of January, 2026, the minimum wage in Poland is 4,806 Polish zlotys gross per month. The minimum hourly rate for relevant civil law contracts is 31 Polish zlotys and 40 groszy gross per hour. Gross means the amount before applicable deductions. Net means the amount you actually receive after the applicable deductions. Also check how many hours you are expected to work, what rules apply to overtime, what type of contract you are signing and who your employer is. If someone tells you your salary, ask whether the amount is gross or net. A foreign worker who works legally in Poland has the right to protection of their employment rights. Your employer should respect rules concerning salary, working time, health and safety at work, social and health insurance where applicable, tax obligations and the prohibition of discrimination. Your nationality does not mean that an employer can give you unlawful working conditions. For example, an employer cannot simply use your foreign status as a reason to ignore employment rules. If you do not understand a document written in Polish, ask for an explanation before signing it. Do not sign a document simply because someone tells you that it is only a formality. You should understand what you are signing. Before your first day of work, make a simple checklist. Make sure that your stay in Poland is legal. Make sure that your residence basis allows you to work. Check whether you need a work permit or another employment document. Make sure your employer has completed the required formalities. You should have a written contract and understand its conditions. You should know how much you will be paid, who your employer is and what work you will perform. Keep copies of important documents, especially your contract, residence document and work document if one is required. Also keep important information about your employer and your employment. Be careful about illegal work. Do not agree to start working if an employer says, "Start working now. We will prepare the documents later." Or, "Foreign workers do not need a contract." Or, "Work in a different position. We will put something else in the documents." Or, "The salary in the contract will be different from the salary you actually receive." These situations can create serious problems for both the worker and the employer. Not needing a work permit does not mean that you do not need a contract or that the employer has no other legal obligations. If something about your employment does not match your documents, stop and check your situation before continuing. If you are not sure whether you can legally work in Poland, check your individual situation. The important information includes your nationality, your residence document, the date you entered Poland, your residence status, the type of work, your employer, and the type of contract. It may also matter what type of visa or residence permit you have, whether you have a work permit and whether your employer has completed the required formalities. Do not assume that the rules applying to your friend, colleague or family member automatically apply to you. Two people from the same country can have different rights to work because their residence status or employment documents are different. Legal work in Poland is not only about having a work permit. You should check all of these elements together: legal residence, the right to work, required documents, the contract and the employment conditions. If any of these elements is unclear, check your situation before starting work. The information in this guide is general. Polish rules concerning the residence and employment of foreigners can change, so in an individual case you should always check the current requirements of the relevant Polish authorities. The most important thing to remember is simple. Legal work in Poland means more than having a work permit. Check these 5 elements together. Legal residence. Right to work. Required documents. Employment contract. Employment conditions. If all 5 are correct, you are much better prepared to start work legally and safely in Poland. Useful official information is available from several Polish institutions. Model Obsługi Spraw, known as MOS, provides information about procedures concerning foreigners. Państwowa Inspekcja Pracy, the Polish National Labor Inspectorate, provides information about employment rights, legal employment, and workplace protection. The public employment portal piraka.gov.pl provides information and electronic services related to the labor market and employment of foreigners. Before you start work, use official information to check your individual situation.
If you found this video useful, subscribe to the Family in Poland channel. We regularly publish new guides for expat families living or planning to live in Poland. You can find full information and guides on our website at familyinpoland.com. See you next time.